Good morning and welcome, everyone. So today I'm going to be chatting to Alet very informally, just around integrating AI and machine learning in banking operations. But I think before we even kick off the actual discussion, we wanted to just talk about how far we've come in terms of AI as well as machine learning. But always at all times remembering that the input into any of these concepts is actually programmed by a human. So, leading with that as our opening, we'd like to kick off with a quick video just to highlight for you where we are with Gen I today. And that, folks, is Gen AI. So let's kick off today. When we look at advanced technologies, they are currently enabling banks to actually enhance customer experiences through personalized services and improve risk management because they're able to predict potential fraud as well as to streamline full operations end to end. But let's kick off first when we look at the benefits. Alet, would you like to tell us what are some of the key benefits when we look at tier one banks in South Africa today around implementing AI as well as ML?
Thanks, Pragashani, and nice to see all of you here. And I think it's Friday, right? So we'll keep the conversation a little bit light and maybe add some banter in there as well, because we are also serious about AI, right? And yet, and we're all experts as well, I believe, when you speak to people. But largely, when we think about what is it that we as organizations want to do, so I think most certainly, even in the telco space, as in banking, right? Three things really that I think AI brings, and maybe one can describe it about it's faster, it's better for our customers, and there's a wow factor to it or a differentiator, right? So faster means we have to go and look at capabilities in our AI capability layer that can just make our operations faster. If you are in Bank A and Bank B decides to really increase the efficiencies in their ops, you are going to struggle to keep your customers happy if processes are so much more seamless and faster in operations in certain banks. Then I think where the factor comes in that you can do something better with AI, better means I can know more about my customer. And because I know my customer so much better, I can offer that customer so much better tailored products in a personalized way where it is a little bit more in an intimate setting. So most certainly also just better for our customers. And the final one is the wow factor. I think we all want to look at our organizations and go, we are really differentiated. We are innovating in our environment, and that in itself brings a lot of market differentiation. When I am, looking at trying to find a bank to cover my home loan. Of course, I want things that are seamless, faster, and they know me better. But I want to associate myself with a bank that's differentiated. They are innovative. They are cool. They are just amazing. And I think consumers want that, right? They want to associate themselves with a bank that truly understands that. So I think AI becomes a massive player within banking for differentiation and really delighting our customers. So I think those largely would be the benefits: faster, better, and the wow factor.
Yeah, I think those are certainly critical points because when we look at a seamless customer experience, you'll realize that I think we're living in a very much a digital age where people want food fast, not fast food, and you need to apply that across all different sectors, all different elements of business. So let's talk a little bit about the concerns around AI. So I think that AI sometimes generates a little sliver of fear that comes out around how are we tackling the unspoken question of, will AI replace people?
Okay, so Pragashani, that's actually a very controversial question, and I think one must look at it. Where we are sitting here in fancy sand, and we must remember that we are on the African continent. Our wants and needs for AI in Africa is completely different to a wants and need in companies like the Americas and the Europes and the United Arab Emirates. We had to have a banking summit in Dubai. You can just see the conversation will be about automation, 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 cutting out people from jobs, automating, automating. I mean, when you land at the airport, you hardly see a person now. Everything is just in, out, all automated. That is not the real value for me in AI. And I think in the African continent and South Africa at large, AI is a different play. I think we can actually create jobs by introducing AI in our organizations and our landscape to drive more security and robustness in everything that we do. So, yeah, a lot of people say AI is going to take my job. And then you must now, the clever people on YouTube and LinkedIn says, no, AI won't take your job, but people that know how to use AI will take your job. You've heard that, right? So what does that even mean? I'm also just my tolerance for these like quotes is also coming to an end. So explain to me, what does that mean when I say, if you know about AI, it won't take your job? There's a responsibility in there. And I think across our organization, there are different types of personas in the organization. So it's different for the guy that works in IT. It's different for the guy that works in governance and risk. It's different for that lady that's working in the business commercial area. It's different for the person that's the CEO of the company. And when you look at it, I maybe just want to take one of those personas. And please, if you want examples, I'll go into the other personas. But if you think about somebody in IT, a person that knows AI so that the AI doesn't take their job, sits and critically looks at his designs and go, where can I use cloud APIs, RPA, supervised AI, generative AI to heighten the solution, elevate the solution so it's faster, better, and wow. So the guy in IT needs to know what these capabilities can do so that he can bring it into the design. And in so doing, he's understanding, or she's understanding, how to use AI to do his design or her design better. That's an example of somebody that has adopted AI, have read about it, understood what it can do for his day-to-day job, and actually adopts it and uses it. That person's job will never be at risk because he or she has figured out how to use it. And the examples is pervasive across all the other personas that I've mentioned. But I think when we say AI mustn't take my job, you have agency. You just need to drive your own understanding of what AI can do and then use it in your job. If you're working on spreadsheets, the world of Excel, and you're not telling your business analyst, we need to automate this process, you're taking yourself out of a job. Rather get the people to come and help you. Then the last thing that I just wanted to say is we will never go fully autonomous. Humans have agencies in this loop, and it's about our ability to understand what is your role in this ecosystem between human and machine. So very, very importantly, never autonomous. Human has agency. It's just how do we think differently about our job specs to bring that flavor into it. So we don't want people to manually capture anything anymore. We want the machine to do that, or RPA, or whatever capabilities we infuse. But we want you to now up your game, because if a machine is doing the capturing, then your supervision and your insights in what is coming out of that work, you need to amplify yourself and take yourself to a higher level so you can be more tactical, less operational. So that entire way of thinking and how we also need to structure our jobs to observe that human in the loop is going to cause, I think, disruption, but it's not a negative disruption. I don't know, do you feel like capturing on Excel? I mean, we're not there anymore, right?
No, completely. Because I think with AI, it really enables you to take away the mundane and the repetitive tasks. Because remember, there's a level of complexity in your roles that need to be done by a human. And you need to be able to free it up to have that strategic time to focus on it. But now let's look at about, the key issue of data privacy. So this has been a critical discussion point in South Africa. We look at POPIA and the regulation of customer data. You look at the banking and financial institutions. You've got multiple data sets, and I think what's going to be paramount to success is really looking at how do you manage the data, where does it sit, and who has access to it. Especially when you have the AI, when you have AI, and then you've got ML involved. What is the compliance and regulation impact around integrating this into banking?
Yeah, and I think maybe just to demystify real quick, people talk AI, and then there's these conversations about data, and people really struggle to understand what is the link. I think it's arguably important to understand that data is the fuel for AI. Doesn't matter how you look at it. AI cannot work without data. And that is why how we think about data needs to evolve. We should actually not have a conversation about data management, data privacy, data security. What we should rather say is you need an AI fit data ecosystem. Your data ecosystem in your organization where you are working, we must treat it like an asset, like you would do with all of your other valuable assets in your company. Data is now an asset. And think about it like that. So in this data ecosystem, what is it that we have to consider? Your data needs to be very secure, very private. It needs to have the utmost integrity. I don't think any one of us want to automate decisions on bad quality data. And I don't think our data in our organizations are enough to delight our customers. So we need to start thinking about how to bring third party and external data into our ecosystems. So I hope you can also just agree with me. This is now becoming a discipline, a crucial discipline, and we have to have proper conversations. So I'm sorry, Mr. CEO, please don't ask me again, is data governance important? Or what value is data governance bringing? I'm saying you're going to be in trouble without data governance, right? And data governance is the discipline that helps us to manage this data ecosystem as a true valuable asset, guys. And we know this deep inside, you all know, you've heard this. The likes of Meta, of Google, of Amazon are 3, 4, 5 times more valuable than kind of traditional companies. Why? Because they've made the shift, the paradigm shift to say data is everything for us. This data ecosystem will make our company 3, 4, 5, 6-fold more valuable. So most certainly, I think AI is an opportunity for us in organizations to make the shift about saying data is no longer a this or that. It's an asset. It's an ecosystem. We need to treat it as such.
Thanks, Alet. I think in terms of data governance, it then would be leading us to let's talk technology, infrastructure, as well as investment. When implementing AI, it will involve layers of architectural integration. Can you talk us through how do we plan for that? How do we integrate cybersecurity as well? And how would that work in terms of a first pass of tackling AI integration?
So if I'm not mistaken, banks are, they know this word mainframe, right? The pervasive existence of mainframes, or in telco, we don't have mainframes, we call them legacy systems, right? And today's new system, I think 2 years ago, we would introduce a new BSS stack. That was 2 years ago. Guys, today there was a meeting to say this is now a legacy system that we have to sunset. So I think arguably we have to kind of agree. The hype cycle around technology is so vast. So what do we do in organizations to have an infrastructure that is always fit for AI? You're going to hate me, but it all comes down to the API native organization. So if your IT landscape is not built towards cloud, it's already in cloud, and cloud, guys, is really there so that we can do API integration. We can quickly, seamlessly integrate into solutions. I think that is the answer to success. And a lot of our organizations, and guys, MTN, all the telcos, Vodacom, we're all in the same boat, although we don't have the mainframes. But it's about over years, MTN is 30 years old this year. We've built such IT structures that's so deeply linked a system to a system where there's not a service bus with API layers. And unless you've got that, you always have the stickiness in your infrastructure. And unless you get to that environment that is completely API driven and everybody understands this landscape, you're going to struggle. You're going to really struggle to get to AI. So maybe I will just say that the IT folk in our organizations have to be very, very thoughtful when they design systems so that we can get repeatability and scalability and speed into our solutions. And the way that you do that is arguably with cloud and API.
No, that's excellent, Alet. So I think, when we look at it, a key consideration as well has to be when you're looking at scalability and the integration, it has to be done, I think, in a staggered approach. That's something that is a strong emphasis. It's not a one-hit wonder, and it is taken over an extended period. And also, you would need to have independent tests, case studies, as well as feasibility around application across cross-functional areas, because you want to apply it within risk, for instance, within marketing, within training, within product design. So, I think it's really about segmenting those functional areas and then focusing from there on how you would expand. So let's talk a little bit more about financial inclusion. So AI is currently seen as, just this acronym now that's out there. And is it actually accessible to the African continent?
Yeah, I think financial inclusion is a massive conversation and topic, social responsibility for us here on the African continent. It goes back to my initial comment. Something I feel very passionate about is we have a different agenda to the first world countries. And wow, are we lucky that we were born on this continent and that we've got value to add. Yeah, it's something that I get very excited about. But financial inclusion means the following. What can we as industry leaders do within our own organizations to drive economic inclusion so that every single person in our respective countries, and I'm going to include Africa in this whole conversation, what do we do so that more people have money and they can economically transact? They've got money to buy your products. So it all starts with this notion of, do you need a bank account to have a credit vetting score? Let's start there. Surely by now we have alternative data sources that are available, that you don't just need to look at somebody's he's got or she's got a bank account, so therefore we can credit vet them, because everything starts with credit vetting to give people loans, give them money in their hands so that they can become economically viable. So there one has to ask yourself, surely in this ecosystem and partnerships that we find ourselves now in the AI world, is there not alternate data sources that we can bring in to our data ecosystem so that we can expand our ability to do credit vetting? So there is a very good idea of thinking how to drive financial inclusion. I think banks play an immense role in democratizing access to banking platforms, right, through digital capability. So we need to think like, what will be easier for me to transact on this platform? I need connectivity where I am in my rural area. I don't have a car or a taxi to quickly take me to Cresta. It doesn't exist, right? So we need to find digital tools that's accessible by a majority of people, easy, and the connectivity is there and it's paid for. Reverse pulled URL, things like that. So we can just stimulate them to get onto the platform. They're now being credit vetted, and now we can actually do things with them. So another example that I think banks play a very important role in, Pragashani, is remittance. We've got social responsibility in South Africa through our grant system. I'm sure we're all quite happy that we can contribute to grants because it puts food on tables in this country. So the banks play an important role to remit that funds. So there's another important driver for financial inclusion. There are more, but if I just think about three of the top ones, I think those ring true, I think, in the world of banking.
Thanks, Alet. So I think, when we look at the underserved populations, it's really about opening up new avenues to give them access to credit, enable them, to function within the South African community. So let's move on and let's talk a little bit about practical applications now. So a lot of the people in the crowd are from tier one banks, and I think everyone's curious to understand what are some of the success stories of the integration of AI as well as machine learning into banks in the South African context.
Yeah, and maybe just to pause for a minute and just acknowledge the sophistication of our banking landscape in South Africa. I mean, it's unsurpassed. We are, envied by many countries in the world. So thank you for the major banks in South Africa for always ensuring that we've got that thing to brag about, Noddy badge. But I think there are success stories, and you can see it already. I think arguably in South Africa, and for that matter, Africa, you'll always hear me speak about more than just South Africa, is language. Language is a big blocker for people to contribute in the economic landscape. So there is some movement. I won't call out the specific banks, but there are examples where some of our banks are already thinking, how do we introduce generative AI or virtual assistants in our platforms, and it is friendly to all of our native languages. I think languages is a massive one if you can unlock that. Not everybody speaks English. English is my second language. So by 11 o'clock, I'm so glad we're speaking at 9. The words, the wallet is empty. The English, that wallet is just gone empty, and I have to dip into the Afrikaans wallet, and it just gets very confusing. But I have some colleagues at MTN that dip into the Zulu and Xhosa, and then we just have like a mix there. So I think languages, one bank is very good at that. I see on the machine learning side, I'm seeing a lot of automation in terms of credit risk. And obviously fraudulent activities to detect that identity theft. It's a big one. So if you look at our very proud entity that we associate ourselves with, Genosis, their APIs integrate very well into your BSS stacks and decision-making engines, where we can make KYC information available, SIM swaps, device swaps, so that you automate that. And some of the success stories is exactly linked to that, where you can quickly one bank can quickly look at, is this still the same person? I think we're all annoyed with identity theft. It happens, it's real. So to have that real-time information at the point of making an application decision is great. So there's some of the successes that we've seen. Yeah, I'm always interested. You guys were actually far ahead of the curve if we think about your amazing apps that you've got in the banking space. And when you interact with those apps are quite personalized. So lots to celebrate in the space of AI in banks South Africa.
Thanks, Alet. I think you're probably referring to Abby from Absa. Just thought I'd throw that in.
100%, Pragashani. Well done.
So let's look at our last closing question and touch on data analytics. So with any organization, bank or not, analytics is the basis of how you track and manage your organization. It's how you are looking for trend analysis, you're looking for comparisons, you're trying to ascertain exactly where are you in your business in terms of variances, in terms of exceptions. That data would come from different avenues at different times, but also there's a lot of manual intervention. I think if you could perhaps talk us through the value of using AI, to manage the data, as well as to bring convenience and simplicity in tracking and management of those various avenues that flow each month.
Yo, that is a higher grade question. Prakash, are you having those conversations in your company? That's awesome. But I think we've arguably said AI is as good as your data ecosystem. We said that, and we said what do you need to think about in your data ecosystem is data governance, right? And the way that practically is done is through data management. So if we are looking at massive pipelines, again, just an example, at MTN, we are processing 30 billion records on a daily basis. Now, think for yourself, 30 billion records, can your code set that your IT team is developing, can it be robust enough to manage that pipeline from 30 billion records a day down to a self-service cubes that our commercial teams can use? Yes, they can, but it's very difficult. What does that mean when you ask somebody in your BI team in IT to build you something? It takes how long? Turnaround time? Guys, it's never less than 6 months, 9 months. And if you tell me it's different in the banks, I want to come and work there. But the complexity that IT people have to chew through to get those pipelines significantly efficient is difficult. So it is a different route now to think, how can I use AI to do automated data engineering, to do automated detection, automated data classification, so that I can apply privacy, security, etc. So that is where we need to stretch ourselves. And this is what I was saying. It's your AI won't take your job, developer, but I'm going to kick you out if you don't accelerate my little project. I want it in 2 weeks. And you can only do that when you start adopting even the AI tools within the fabric where we are building our technology solutions. So there are a fair amount of accelerations there as well that we can take into consideration.
That's quite comprehensive. So, as you can see, what we've talked about today is really gone around the comprehensive, life cycle of what AI and machine learning is really about. We've touched on the risks, we've touched on data privacy, we've looked at the impact on actual jobs within the organization. We've also looked at streamlining processes, looking at operational efficiencies, and then looking at the personalization and the impact on the client. But I think in closing, we'd like to share with you a video that just really highlights how far AI has really come and the impact that it's currently having worldwide. So let's kick that off. Thank you.
No, sir, it's Google Pizza. No, sir, Google bought Pizza Hut last month. Do you want your usual? According to our database, the last 12 times you called, you ordered an extra large pizza with 3 cheeses, sausage, pepperoni, mushrooms, and meatballs on a thick crust. May I suggest that this time you order a vegetarian pizza with sun-dried tomatoes on a whole with gluten-free crust? Your cholesterol is not good. We cross-referenced your home phone number with your medical records. We have the results of your blood tests for the last 7 years.
Well, either way, I don't want to goddamn vegetarian pizza. I take medication for the cholesterol problem.
Excuse me, sir, but you have not taken your medication regularly. According to our database, you purchased only a box of 30 tablets once at Superfarm Pharmacy 4 months ago.
I bought more from another pharmacy.
That doesn't show on your credit card statement.
But I paid in cash, that's why.
But you did not withdraw enough cash according to your bank statement.
Jesus Christ, I have other sources of money.
That doesn't show on your latest tax returns unless you hold them using an undeclared income source, which is illegal.
What the hell? Somehow I have my tax records? This is nuts.
I'm sorry, sir. We use such information only with the sole intention of helping you.
I'm sick and tired of Google and Twitter and WhatsApp and all that shit. I'm going to a desert island where I don't have to deal with any of that shit.
I understand, but you need to renew your passport first. It expired 6 weeks ago.
And that, everyone, is the power of AI. Thank you for joining us.